That's the story, huh?
Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do? You gotta continue going.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Alvaro. I'm here with my man Elbin Reyes. Thank you so much for making this happen, Elvin. I know we tried to make this happen a while ago, but you know, life happens.
Yeah.
I'm just so blessed and grateful to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh man,
It's a pleasure.
There's a saying, so I emptied my cup of who Elvin Reyes is so I can get it from the horse's mouth, so I can get all this story about you. I just want you to know that for me, you know, I think tremendous of what you've done, the interviews that you've been in, what you mean for this community, not only as the humble gentleman that you are, but also all of the dedication that you put into the music, collecting, being a part of the whole dance community, and just all the people that know you. You know, they're just, like I've mentioned to you before, you know, you have such a broad spectrum of friends in the industry. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm so excited about this interview, Elvin. So give me a little background of who you are, what got you into music. You kind of gave me a little hint earlier on, but your path that led you into club going and loving music.
Well, I'm Elbin Reyes. I come from the best of both worlds. I'm like the borderline of Washington Heights and Harlem, but I'm in Harlem. Like if I walk one block, that's Washington Heights. I'm actually, it's called Hamilton Heights. And you know, I've been there all my life. Like I was telling you earlier, I moved 1 year to Massachusetts, Lawrence, 79. I come from a Dominican background, my family, parents, and we moved there for a better life, I guess, for my mom and my dad. You know, we had a house, and but it just lasted 1 year. You know, like we couldn't get used to it. Like my mom, she wanted
come back to
New York.
Yeah.
She missed the sounds of the sirens and stuff. You know, that's
sure.
You know, the people. It was different, and but even at that time, I was already collecting records. I remember I started after school. I joined the baseball team. I was playing basketball. I didn't make it for the football season, but I got a part-time job at Burger King. So my paycheck went to my favorite place. There was a record store a few blocks down on the main avenue. It was called the Main Street, and it was the store was called Strawberries. I think they were a franchise in Boston.
Okay.
So I would go there like every day and just pick out a lot of records, not even listening to them.
Right.
Just by the cover.
Oh wow.
Anything that might have some disco, like good disco. And at that time I didn't have equipment. I was trying to get equipment. I was very young. I actually had a drum set that I brought, and before I moved to Massachusetts, all my friends and older friends, they were already going out. So when I came back to New York, down the block, down the block, we had a building that had stoops, and that was like the hangout. All the kids from the neighborhood, we would go there and sit down. And my cousins, Gus, Joanne's brother, he had a boombox, and he would do like all the pause edits.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And
on the tape?
On the tapes, yeah. So
I remember those days.
So we had like the music was there, so we would just hang out and talk about the club, and everybody would get prepared Friday night to go to to a party or Saturday night. So basically, I had the older guys and my cousins. They taught me a lot about the music. I remember me as a kid, looking out the window, they had the block parties. I would be in the fire escape.
Oh, wow.
And they would bring out the GLI speakers. I remember my best friend, one of my best friends, he had the Yuri, and he had brand new turntables he had gotten from Crazy Eddie's.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they were playing like USA European Connection, Voyage, all that stuff, all the Euro disco, the high energy stuff. But my other cousins, they used to go out. Like all the guys from my neighborhood, like they would go to the Bronx to the 310 and a half. I think it was Blinkers. You had the B&B. They used to go to Herpes Triangle, which I went there after. You had Arthur's, and then they would go out to Brooklyn to the Orange Peel. Here in the city, they would go. My cousin, they went to Infinity, to the Loft. They went to what else? The Boomba Macau for George Wheeler. They went to Ipanema, the Footstep, the Red and White, and just all the clubs. Joysons, you know, they would Crisco, like Melons. They would go everywhere, you know, and I learned from them. And basically, till now, like from back then, I mean, I caught on to that, and I just kept clubbing. I never stopped. I mean, I went to so many clubs. I mean, when I was living in Jersey, I had an apartment in Jersey. And like I was telling you earlier, I had a whole closet full of magazines and boxes of flyers that I used to collect of all the parties I went to, like, or I used to go to, or I might have not gone, but I had the flyer and be like, wow, you know, I was there.
Yeah.
You know, and
do you still have that?
I have some of them. I don't think I have. I have a whole book on the garage fly because I was a member.
Right.
So I have all those. Some of those I remember when Larry started playing at Studio 54.
Yeah.
I had like tons of, because Bob Caviano, Ray Caviano's brother, he was managing at the time, Larry. So we would go to those parties. And then another thing was too that my cousin, Marco Reyes, he still comes out. He loves 718 with his friends, yeah, and like his old garage buddies. So he basically took me under his arm, and you know, and I learned a lot from him. He's like one of my big mentors, and Joanne's brother as well. And but Marco, he was into Metro, the record pool with Dwayne Dixon, and then that's how he started. And then he went to school. I think it was New York Tech, I think, but here in the city. And they were for recording, I guess, engineers.
Yeah.
So his friends, they were all into music. So after that, you know, they were doing like mobile gigs. Mm-hmm. And he got into the pool for the records.
Oh, wow.
With Judy Weinstein. I think, may he rest in peace, Fat David Padilla. He got in at the same time. I think Jelly Bean. Voucher for them, like you know, and they got in because at one point my cousin, they were hanging out with Jelly Bean. They were, you know, friends, you know. I think Jelly Bean's mom they went to high school together, and Jelly Bean's mom had a supermarket in the Bronx. Yeah, and they used to hang out with Jelly Bean's sister, I think Debbie, and that's how, you know, I started hanging out more with him. I mean, but this was. He wanted to open up a club, so our job was like basically I was hanging out with him. We would go on Fridays to the record pool, for the records and wait for the records. So Dave DePino would tell us, "Hey, Larry's gonna come. He should be here around 5, 6 o'clock. Let's wait for Larry." So we would be sitting down on the sofa, waiting for Larry to come in to meet him. Right. And we would go there, pick up, and then we would go to the company. At one time, I was working, this was probably like the 80s, I was working in Bergdorf, Goodman, and I remember Victor Rosado stopping by, so I'm in the street. He goes, "Hey, let's go to the company to pick up." I went during my lunchtime break, and we went to I think A&M. I picked up Willie Colon, set fire to me. Wow. I still have 2 of the test presses from that time from the company. So we used to go around. I used to go to the companies with my cousin as well. Yeah. And same thing, like when I met David, I didn't know him personally, but I met him, or I got to speak with him, and it was a pleasure because I was just a kid and he gave me records. So they used to do these tea parties at CBS, and the tea parties, it was Gail Bruzowitz. At the time, she was dating, I think, Francois. Oh, wow. And they had this big conference table at CBS, you know, and they had, like, you would have to fill out the feedback sheets. Yeah. And Dave was playing records, but he also had the reel-to-reel. Everything there was all Mark Levinson. Wow. So I remember him giving me, like, a Miles Davis. At that time, I think that's when Lisa came out. Wow. The Maris, like, all the stuff on Columbia, CBS, a few of them. He gave me a few records. And here I am, a kid, and he doesn't know me. I'm not a DJ, but I was with my cousin, and he gave me some records.
So you had the in.
Yeah, so I was, and then already like going to the pool, going to the company.
Yeah.
My cousin was mentioning names like Brad LeBeau. He was like a big PR guy, and just me, going around to Charlie, the Vinyl Mania, and going to the stores, and downstairs, and then a little bit like mid '80s, early '80s, going to downtown on Worth Street, meeting Albert, and then getting rest in peace, my brother. Like finding all those records he handed to me at that time, all that UK jazz funk.
Yep.
Eddie Grant, Journey to Powerline, the Level 42 stuff. Yeah. All the London Town, like all that stuff that was coming out at that time. Yeah. And it was a different time, but really very nice, humble beginning. Like it was, like look, we're right now in the West Village, and this is the streets.
That's the streets. That's right.
We used to roam around the stores.
Yeah.
You had the House of Oldies.
Yeah. House of Oldies.
You had the rock store for vinyl.
Yeah.
You had Decadence on Christopher.
Yep.
And then Charlie opened up another store, another Vinyl Mania. Also the one besides from the one uptown.
Yeah.
And he had the one here on Christopher. Yeah. And it was fun times. I mean, I remember we would go, to the garage, and then, which is a few blocks down, and then go to Vinyl Mania,
Yeah.
I mean, it was good times, and the thing with me, I never stopped collecting. Like, even though my friends, a lot of them parted ways and stuff, I always kept going. I remember being married. When I was married, I would sneak up the records to the apartment.
Oh, I know someone who sneaks out records too.
Sometimes I would leave them in the trunk, and, but
wait for that special time,
that
right?
Special
to bring them up.
To bring them up, and I'm lucky enough, like I had good friends, family members that taught me the rope. Like they showed me like the way, and now it's like I'm showing them like. Because I'm more relevant, so they all come to me.
Yeah. I
still go out, I still know people, I know the music, like I search a lot, so I turn a lot of people onto things, and so it's like coming back in full circle, but it just never stopped with me, I mean always, I even now it's hard to go to the brick and mortar stores. There's not. I mean, there's a lot now.
Yeah.
I think there's
more coming up.
Coming up.
Absolutely.
But now we're in a digital age.
Yeah.
So everybody's searching online. It's like I have friends that they don't even go to store. I have a friend that he's allergic to the dust from the store.
Oh, wow.
So he doesn't like.
Wow.
I guess he prefers shopping on Discogs, online.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing. I get a lot of stuff from Love for Wax from Tony.
Yeah, Tony. Yep.
Yeah. Also, Range Music from George Gomez, and you have several sites. I go to Juno, Phonica.
Yeah.
Mixtape. Brian. Piccadilly. I mean everywhere. And Bandcamp, and so much good music now coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, I always said there was never like bad music, just music for different ears.
Absolutely.
And you always find stuff. There's always something appealing or something to your taste.
Yep.
I tell people, like a lot of my friends, I remember going digging and going through the shelves and the bins, and I had like 2 or 3 guys behind me, like what you find? And I would hand off things to them.
Yeah.
And sharing is is caring.
Yeah.
But it's those were good times, and I missed it. But I still do that. Like I'll go on a Sunday to Human Head and just hang out with Travis, Sean, Brooklyn, all those guys, and I have fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm there, and basically I go through the whole store in a couple of hours, and sometimes I have to wait because my friends, they keep coming in the store and they start talking to me, hey Elvin, so it stops me from digging, like looking for what I want. So after I say hi to everyone, then I but that's my little peace of mind being in a record store. I forget about the whole world, and it's like my sanctuary. I'm there and just reading the liner notes and trying to find obscure or different stuff. It's
Now let me pause you for a little bit because you said a lot, and thank you for sharing that. Let's go back a little bit to your clubbing days.
Yeah.
What do you say was an impactful club for you? What was the most one or two impactful things that made a difference to you or made you look at sound or DJing differently that kind of hit your soul?
All right. I remember my cousin took me to Louis Feldman. He was an audio guy. He was actually more a distributor for JBL at the time. So I went to pick up from him. He had a Bozak, and I got my first Bozak mixer. So I already had an idea of what I wanted, and then also going to the garage and going with my cousin because he was a member because he was in For the Record. So they used to do the record pool parties during the week. So they would have different people like Jonathan Fearing, Danny Crivet played, and a few people. I remember Danny was telling me he would take the reel to reels. And it's funny because I told Danny the first time I went to the garage was on a Saturday. I had like really boom shorts, and I'm like stuck to the wall. And my friend says, Elvin, don't worry, just tell them you're straight. They won't bother you. Plus we here with you. Nothing's gonna happen. And Dave DePino used to tell me the same thing. But you're young. Yeah. You go to an all gay club. That's what you expect. But we used to go for the music.
Of course.
So to me, the garage was one place that really changed everything because of the sound. And then I started knowing about Richard's work and all the custom stuff, the Max and how he powered the highs with the Max, and the special console that he had with all the custom made pieces. And what I like about that place was it was an all members club. Not only that, I mean, you would never see like paper or garbage, but if you see something on the floor, you see like members pass by, pick it up and throw it in the garbage. And us as members, we would like screen all our friends, our guests, like, yo, you got to behave in this club.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to lose my membership.
Wow.
Try to act right. And once you went there, and you heard that sound, pristine, clean, clear. Same thing. Like that to me was, I didn't want to know about any other club because I was already going to Fun House. I was going to. I went to the Loft, and the Loft. I wish I'd gone more because as I got older and mature with the music, I understood Dave's concept. Yeah. And now that's like my path. Like, I'm building a system, and I want something like really clear, like that, clean. Yeah. And but there was other club, like so many clubs. Also, like, can't forget Rosner. Like one of my first clubs, actually my first was Starship Discovery 1, and Rosner had the walls of Macintosh in that place. And he had sound like all around, and that was very clean. And then you had, I went to Bonds, of course. But all the other clubs, I remember going. I was never an avid fan of freestyle. I kind of despised it. Okay. But I had one or two records I liked that, they had their dubs. And then again, we used to go to Roseland because we said, oh, there's a lot of girls here. They play freestyle. So we used to go there. Right. We used to alternate. Like my friends, sometimes we wanted to get away from the American music, and we would go to Copa and listen to Latin music, and get dressed up, try to pick up some girls. And that was, you had so much variety in New York. Sure. Like club hopping, there was so much. And like I told you earlier, Area was another place I loved because Area had a theme. They had store designers, guys that used to do the windows for Saks, Bergdorf, and they would decorate the windows as you walk in, and the club. I remember the first time like going to Areas, the whole place had a medieval look. They had decor the whole place. They looked like stones on the wall, and they had a dinosaur that almost looked like Godzilla. So the eyes, they had two television, inside the eyes, and you see the channels changing.
Wow.
So it was really cool. They had like, I think at one point they had Matt Dillon like naked with a bunch of fruits on one of the windows when you walk through the whole foyer, that hallway.
Yeah, the hallway.
Yeah, and area was this. I tell people, you know, it was so different because they would change the theme every month. It's not like you would get bored. And the garage would do the same thing. You would go to the garage and they would have like a different pin spot, like on a different, you know, the lighting. They would always change around things, little things that made it different. You know, and plus in the garage you had the rooftop, you had the movie theater, you know, you had the crystal room, you know, the glass room. And it was different, you know. And another thing is too, no alcohol, so there was never a problem. So I kind of, that was like, to me, like a perfect club. And I remember going to a fun house, and I think Jelly Bean might have been playing. I know Tony Smith used to play at the fun house, and he was really good, and then also Jonathan Fearing was like really good, and he was playing at the time. And I remember when Jelly Bean was playing, I think he was playing a lot of freestyle stuff was coming out, more like the electro, like the Arthur Bacon, John Roby stuff. And during that time, I remember my friend, his mom had passed away, and he told me, yo, Elvin, you know, let's go out, man, I want to go, you know. So we got, you know, he got all his things that he wanted, all his medicine, and we shot down, we went to front out, said, man, we can't stand this music all night long, let's get out of here. We went to the garage and never looked back. I said, you know what, I don't want to go to any other club. But during the course, I would always go to different clubs. I used to go to, this was another club that on 33rd Street. It was called Love Light. So Love Light, the only thing it had was concrete. It was just concrete floor, but they had stacks like Levan horns and everything. Wow. And Tony Humphrey played there. Larry Patterson. I saw Robert Cavillas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So. I think T. Scott as well. I think Nick Jones. Yeah. Yo, so it was that club was very dark, and again, a few people, just like Areas. When I used to go to Areas, it was just me and my friends, and probably maybe Louis' sister and her friends. A few people I could count. I remember going to Areas, and Timmy was playing reel to reel mixing, and Boy Jarvis was doing all that stuff with the keys. And he was experimenting, making those long mixes with the disco record at the time, which was harder, and trying to keep him on beat. Right. And then I remember he invited a few times. I think he was either, I don't know if he couldn't make it, but he had as a guest Dave Morales. And I remember a skinny Dave Morales going up to the booth with his friends carrying the record crates to the booth, because the booth was different, in a different position. And when Area was there, then when I think some Japanese investors, they got involved, and they made it the shelter, and they had like the Crown amps. They were on the ceiling.
See them on top,
and you see the lights, and then they made the T-shirts with the lights. And then I remember Timmy had gotten a Mercedes, and I think he had a Ninja bike. I'm saying, and then I think Merlin Bob they became partners, and it's funny because at the time I started working for a glass company, doing mirrors and glass. Basically, it was called a glazier. So one of my co-workers, his name was Stan Hasaki. And one day during lunch, we go to my house. I think we brought some sandwiches from the deli. We go to my house to eat, and I said, "Come on, let's go to my house and we hang out for a little bit." We go, "All right, cool." We park the van. We go to He sees all these records. He goes, "Oh, why you never told me this?" And I go, "What you mean?" I go, "I like music. I didn't know." We were always driving the van, but we always had WWRL because it only had AM. It didn't have FM and no cassette or nothing. So he goes, man, Elvin, this is what me and my brother, we used to do, man. We used to DJ, and we love it." And I'm like, "Really?" And then the next day, I think at work, he brings me these flyers of him and his brother doing playing music. They were Greek, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were from Queens, from Jamaica, the States. And he's showing me these flyers with the Voice of the Theater speakers. And he goes, "Yo, I used to play, man. We used to do block parties." I go, "Really? Wow, it's a small world."
Yep.
So the next thing after he saw that, when he went to my house, he tells me like a week later, he goes, "Elvin, man, I'm dying to leave this job. I want to open up a record store. You down?" And I go, "Stan, man, I would love to. Right now I can't. I just got married. I had a kid. A kid is on the way. I can't. And he says, but come on, you gotta go home. I go, listen, I'll hook you up with everyone in the industry. I'll try to get you people, get the racks, get, connection for whatever, distributors, everything. Next thing you know, dance tracks. Wow. So I was like a silent partner.
Oh, wow.
Before Stefan, Joe.
Yeah.
So we used to do little parties like on Fridays. Me, my cousin Stan, and Joe Clausel used to come by. We used to hang out. They used to get beers. I never drank or nothing,
right.
So me and Joe used to play like back-to-back disco stuff and close the gate, and we would be hanging out there. Stan, Dora, his wife,
right.
my cousin Marco with his ex-wife Iris, and my best friend PT. We were all there hanging out.
Wow.
Yeah, and then on Fridays sometimes we would take, or Saturday, we used to take the Stan's Cadillac and head out to Zanzibar's.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome story, man.
So, it's I've been, around. And the thing is, like before, I mean, clubs were full, like Bonds, I even got to go to see Bonds, like Latin shows there, I remember the time I seen the most people in Bonds, it was a Latin party. They had El Gran Combo, Oscar de Leon, and Johnny Ventura on the same bill.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I was seeing this girl, and I called her. She says, "Hey, you going to the party?" I go, "Nah, I'm sick." Next thing it's like 2 o'clock. The line was still around the corner.
Oh my God!
Like 2 a.m. And she saw me there sitting in the sofas with my friends. She said, "I thought you would say I was sick," and she dumped me right there. But Bonds, I used to love it. I got to see like Reggie Wells there.
Nice.
Especially Kenny Carpenter. Yeah. Like all the D Train.
Yeah.
A lot of groups from South. So like it was really Sylvester. Same thing, and we used to go, aside from going to a lot of clubs, there was also small little parties. In New York, it's been the Mecca, so there was always like little parties here and there. Like, if you didn't want to go to a club, hey, we used to go to Snob Busters, Wild Pitch. There was
there's always some.
The Choice. There was so much little parties going on,
absolutely.
Than being in a club, and those were great,
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a long journey, a long ride. Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like the influences that you had both from your family and your friends, and just what New York offered at that time, which was a diversity of music. Whatever you wanted new wave, there was a club for that. You wanted punk, there was a club for that. And even in those clubs, they kind of also merge different sounds.
Well, like for instance, I used to go to Dance Interior, Mark Heyman's,
absolutely,
and Ivan, and they would play. I actually enjoyed. I remember I don't know if you remember the Vinyl Maniac magazine, and also the dance reports.
Yep.
So they had like playlists of different DJs what they were playing.
Absolutely.
And I used to love Mark Heyman's list because he was so diverse.
Yeah.
Like new wave, electro, a little bit of this and that.
Yes,
funky,
absolutely.
and that was good. Like. And again, that's why I appreciated a lot back in the days. Kenny Carpenter, but there was also another DJ that was one of my favorites, was Raul Soto. He's the unsigned hero. Like, he was a really good DJ. Like, his mixing was excellent. He would start off slow, work his way into the middle. So he was the DJ at Gotham's, and I think he played that once, and he was also the resident at Broadway 96. So Broadway 96 was up my neighborhood. It was uptown. But it was a really nice club. They had like white speakers. Oh, wow. It was on a second floor. It was like a small loft type. And they had like benches, like the seating on the sides. Really nice club. And people were coming from Queens, Brooklyn, everywhere. So basically, we had a gang up there. It was called the Ball Busters, and they used to like mess up all the parties sometimes. Because there was a lot of them. So they were always looking for trouble and fighting. And the same thing with, they created a big fight, I think at 1018 Roxy's at the time.
God, yeah.
Yeah, so that club, Raul used to play, but Raul, I think, was another one like Kenny, even though I'm not sure if they were in the record pool at the time, but these guys were playing different things. They were playing all the imports.
Right.
All the good jazz funk. Like, Raul was like the only one I heard play Tim Tom Kodak.
Wow.
Him and Kenny.
Yeah.
Raul was playing like Witness the Change, you know, Heaven 17.
Yeah.
He was playing all that stuff before all these people.
Yeah.
And his night, it was just like meticulous. I remember we would hang out in front of the booth. Me and my cousin, at the time, there was no phone, nothing. So my cousin had a little notebook, and he was writing the name, and we would peek like to see the labels and the titles.
Oh man.
Yeah, so those were the good old days. So there was a lot of places, clubs. I remember going to Illusions. And I think in Illusion, that was also a Mike Stone party. That didn't last too long. That was on 45th Street. And I remember the club because they had the ceiling, they had the neon signs were like spider webs.
Oh, wow.
Just like Zanzibar. Zanzibar had like thunder, like lightning. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then the gates behind the speakers.
Yeah.
This was actually a theater.
Wow.
So it had a balcony.
Oh my
and
God.
I remember I used to go to the balcony always with different girls, go up there and hang out. And I think, I don't know if it was John Morales or Dave Morales. I know it was a Mike Stone's party that he was doing, but I remember they would always play Suckers MC, the instrumental. I think that was Dave Morales. I'm sure.
Wow.
He was mixing that with either The Barge, All This Love.
Oh wow.
Or Let's Get Together. What's her name?
Sylvia.
No.
Let's Get Together.
No. Not man.
Not Sylvia Strickland.
Tina Turner.
Oh.
Let's Get
Oh, okay.
The Al Green song.
Yeah.
And he would mix that, and like those were the last records in the morning.
Wow.
Like, so there was a lot of other clubs that you had a lot to choose from. I remember going to what was this club? It was like a hip hop club, the China Club. Also, not the China. It was also in Midtown, a big club. I mean, it was so many clubs. I remember. I got good memories, and even though I could come back and but I remember a lot of places. It was fun. It was just like a lot of good places to go to.
And I think that also carried into the creativity of the DJ, right? You give that perfect example of having like a rap beat mixed with a vocal, a soulful vocal. And it's a shame that in the present time that creativity has kind of gone away, right? Which brings me to the next point, because what do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself a collector, a DJ, or you consider yourself both?
No, I tell people I don't consider myself a DJ, and people tell me you are. I go, I'm not. I'm more. I tell them I'm a record connoisseur, maybe a collector. And when I DJ, when I play records, I don't like to be called DJ. I never had a DJ name. I always wanted my same name. I said to myself, like the old DJs, Tom Savarese, Larry Levan,
David
Dave Mancuso, they always had their names. I was never into like having a DJ moniker. That wasn't me.
Right.
And even now, if they tell me to play somewhere, I usually, or if I do my own, flyer event to put. I always put musical host. I don't like to put DJ, but as we get older, we start learning all these little other things. And I mean, I'm old school, so I come from that school, like and the same thing, like you said, the creativity. Like look at Bruce Forrest at Better Days, and all those guys that play there, Bruce would come with Dave Cole and play keyboard. And another thing that's missing, like now, like I know a lot of guys are lazy and they prefer the digital, but back then to break a record, like Larry would break a record, and so many other DJs, you always had 2 copies of a record and work a record. People don't do that anymore.
Absolutely.
I always buy 2 records. If I like the record and I believe in the record, I always get 2 copies or maybe 3 copies or 4. But I always, and again, I still buy copies of certain records that I believe, and I buy multiple copies and give them to my friends. Like, yo, you need this. Like, listen to this. And it's,
So your reputation is that exactly. You're kind of like the music man. You're if someone's looking for something, hey, Elvin, where can I find this?
I get those calls, texts every day.
But you built that on your own, and out of the taste and collecting a diverse palette of music. which we've had conversations about the cats in Chicago versus the cats here in New York. We've had conversations of how does one flourish in that pocket where it's still underground, it's not really known here in New York, the type of music that you and I play or try to present to people for them to hear, to open up their minds. Why is that difficult for us to really flourish? What are some of the things that you think are, keeping us back from really highlighting all of those awesome rare grooves and those, just out of the box records that you and I play and people love when they hear it?
I think, especially the older generation, a lot of the older folks, I think their musical spans, like I don't know if they could relate or listen to a record from beginning to end, especially a good jazz record, and even go to a party that they'll play that type of music. I think the younger generation, I have a lot of respect for a lot of the young kids that I hang out with. I'm like a grandpa in Brooklyn, but I see what they search, what they look for. A lot of them, you see them jamming stuff, and they follow all the DJs from Chicago, like Sadar, Tom B. Nimble, like Darren Jones, all these guys, Mike Collins. But these guys, they play good stuff. When it comes to that, I think a lot of the older generation, I think they're not as relevant. You won't see them in a computer looking for what's new. The young kids now, they do. Even though, and they're trying. There's a lot of kids out there that are really into like being different, finding stuff. I mean, and a lot of these kids, a lot of them, they're not true New Yorkers. Yeah. They came from probably the Midwest, maybe from Europe, but they really love music. And I can tell you that from me traveling, when I used to travel with the boys. I went everywhere, and you see the appreciation other countries have for the music. Japan, London, Italy. Yeah. And the thing is, here you don't get that appreciation. I think that they have a short span when it comes to listening to good music, or finding, discovering. A lot of now I feel like it's hard to catch up. Yeah. And it's harder because records are expensive now. Yes. Very, very expensive. And even to find something old, which was probably $10, $8 back then, it's hard to find now. Like, you're gonna have to pay money for unless you get a reissue. Yeah. I was one that I was never into reissues. And they got to the point, I said that, you know what? I stopped with the Brazilian and the African stuff. I said to myself, you know what? If I can't find the original clean, I'll just get a reissue. I mean, with the exception, but mostly that I would get as a reissue. Other stuff, maybe an old jazz record that's hard to get, that's like a holy grail and it's unavailable, maybe. But, or rare grooves. But then, if I could find the original, I always go after the original, It's hard, but we're discovering. It's easier now to discover stuff too, with the internet. All the Shazam, all the radio shows. You got NTS. My analog journal. All these shows. Like they have good hosts coming in and playing. You discover so much.
I guess that's the one thing that not bothers me, but troubles me is the fact that you do have a lot out there highlighting what you and I love, which is the diversity of music, right? But yet, putting an event together, it's almost like
difficult.
And I just don't know if
and you know what's sad that people sometimes don't support, like don't give the locals a support. It's like, and it's sad now because now there's no dancers, everybody's a DJ. Yeah. It's a cliche, and I mean, there's tons of parties to go to. I guess you have to choose who you want to hear or listen. Like I keep it simple. I mean, I go to, the 718, see Danny, go to, sometimes the loft party when they had it before, just to see friends and hang out, like, and of course the music, there's a lot of small parties. I think you don't see it as much as I do because you're in Jersey.
Yeah, of course.
But here, there's a scene of what we like, the music that we like. There's a small little group that's into that. There's a friend of mine, Federico Fatigue. He owns Second Hands. He does I think it's a bi-weekly party at his record store, and he moves things around, and it turns into a little loft.
Yep.
And basically, he invites all these guys from Chicago to come play. Some guys from Brazil, South America, like from different places.
Yep.
And they play there, and everybody that goes there is open to different things.
Is that where things are gonna stay for the type of music that we enjoy in that small pocket? I mean, can we push it forward?
You know what? I think it could be pushed forward. You know what? There's a lot of more than ever. There's more record stores opening up.
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of people, like I guess quitting their 9 to 5 to open up their own place, or their savings to open up. You have Cosmic now that they're reopening. You have other places just like that. Spinners has his own place too. Like there's a lot of guys that are doing their own little thing, and I think moving on, like I have a friend Mo. He used to work at Turntable Lab. He opened up his own event space in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and these guys, he has a showroom.
Okay.
They build their own system. They're speaker builders, and they're doing their own thing. It's a little. They're out there like in Brooklyn, but people still manage to make it and go. I still haven't been there. They've been inviting me. Yeah. Actually, we had dinner here in the same spot a few weeks ago. Him and my friend Ivan as well. And these are all the younger generation, and they they feel a little older now. Like they're not going out. My friend Ivan, he's a firefighter now.
Wow.
So he whenever he gets a chance, he'll come out.
Yeah.
These guys. Ivan used to work for Dope Jams as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you have a lot of like parties also, like the Dope Jams. That what is it? Something Lake upstate that they do parties to in the summer. There's a lot of stuff happening. Yeah. I think it depends who you know, and if you're in that loop or circle. But definitely they are. You have the lot radio too. There's a lot of people that like and appreciate what we like, the same musical taste.
Yeah.
There's with the rare groove, the bossa nova, the funk fusion, all that stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, I have conversations with a lot of friends about this, but it's like, we as wonderful as New York and New Jersey and all the clubs here have been to us with iconic DJs and sound systems, we really missed that pocket of being groomed on the jazz funk fusion, on all of that pocket of even rare grooves the way you and I hear it. I don't think that there was a lot of that happening during the whole evolution of the disco and then the house music that came in. But that's something that you and I have at heart. We connect musically. I listen to your sets, and it's kind of like, this is exactly the pocket that I love, that I wish more people would be open to, and that they would support things a little bit more. I think what's even
better now, I still have this conversation with my friend. As a matter of fact, he's down the block. We'll probably go visit him. I'll take you there. See, there's also a lot of, like now the end thing is having a kisa bar, the Japanese
listening
bars,
systems.
with the nice
listening bars.
With the nice systems, audiophile systems. So that's another thing. So that's a different realm. A lot of people are branching out to that to play what we like. And I feel like what we like, there's definitely an audience here, and it's getting bigger. I think the big room clubs, those days are over. And even lounges, but it's more like the people prefer going to listen to a DJ while they eat or drink or whatever. And it's changing. I don't know if it's for the better or if we definitely we have to look forward. We can't go back. You know.
Of course.
And musically, I mean, I like my old stuff. I love it. You know, that's my first love. My disco, my funk, my fusion, soul, all that stuff. But there's another thing is there's a lot of good jazz bands coming up from London.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of good records. You know, it's. But I think there's a scene. It's just, you know, it's small, but I think it's gonna grow.
It's gonna grow.
Know?
Yeah. Well,
like, I went to see Cortex the other day
Cortex,
in the summer, and the place was packed.
Yeah.
You know, I missed Azimuth on Saturday. A lot of people went to that. A lot of friends, and all these kids, they're into all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Pat Thomas is coming. I think Mile Life is coming as well soon, and Cortex is coming again to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely probably be going to that. So there's, you know, we like this music, but these young kids are also, they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
When I went to see Cortex at Lincoln Center, all the young kids, they knew Cortex, and they all ran to the aisle and started dancing.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
I think groups like that are able to cross over into, you know, the hip hop, you know, that diversified kind of genre of music that's could be taken as a broken beat, hip hop, you know, space, psychedelic, what you call it, but I think it's definitely
even the West Coast has a scene that's really also crazy with the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the 45s and the rare grooves, like all of, you know, from the top, from Seattle all the way down to San Diego.
Absolutely.
Like a lot, there's a big scene out there. You know, same with Chicago. The Chicago thing, you know, to me, that's me personally, that's my opinion. You know, they always argue with the New York guys, and to me, my house music was Boy Jarvis.
Yeah.
That's who I heard first. Yeah. You know, that's, to me, that's what it was. And same thing, even when Stan opened the store, what we were ordering, it was a lot of housey, I guess, track records, you know, and a lot of them were from New York at that time. You know, they weren't all from Chicago. We were getting stuff from then that Acid House from London. Was, you know, we were getting that stuff in. You know, and it's, you know, it's always a competition between Chicago.
Now, you shared a little glimpse of what your collection looks like. For those that do not know Elvin, he is very humble. He doesn't say much, but I know his collection is vast. You know, and I know you love collecting. Do you see yourself stopping, or do you see yourself just continue?
Last year, I told a friend of mine in Brooklyn at Cosmic Arts, I get the same question all the time. How many records I have? I go, I have no idea. All I know is I have 2 storages and an apartment full. And before I had another apartment in Jersey, and I lost a lot of that, most of the records there. But I didn't really care because, you know, I had a lot of subliminal stuff and other stuff. I wasn't really, you know. And people ask me, when are you going to open up a record store? Which I could, and I think I'll be successful. Maybe because I have a vision and a concept of doing it. You know, before I wanted to do a club, I brought equipment to buy a club. I had like a lot of equipment. I got rid of it, and I'm trying to build this audiophile system. So I would want maybe a record store soon. I don't know, but there's too many. I think right now. But I might stop soon. You know, I'm getting older, so it's gonna come a time that I'm just gonna try to weed down the collection. You know, I told a friend of mine last year. I said, you know what? If I was to sell I could sell my collection, I would just get me a Porsche, like my dream car, 911, a GT3, and that'll be my midlife crisis, you know, like, and forget, you know, try to get everything then probably on digital.
On digital, right? Wow. Well, you know, we gotta enjoy it as long as it lasts. I don't think we can help it, because every time I'm out somewhere, you know, the first thing I do is I plan what record stores are around, and it's just something that I still have the passion that draws to find.
You know what? I'm older now. You know, I just had a grandkid. Like I basically want to spend time with him. And you know, my son, and I think I'm sure. I don't think my son's not into. He loves music, but not like that.
Not to carry it on.
He told me that if I knew this before, I would have like listened to you.
Yeah.
But he took the academics route, and it's gonna come to a point. I would love to leave my collection, probably the Smithsonian, or for a good cause, to a museum. People to enjoy it. Not just to anybody. Like sometimes the money, the effort that we go through, like finding these records and that feeling, nothing's gonna,
replace that.
That.
Absolutely. So going forward, and not to put you in a spot of controversy here, but going out, seeing what's out there now, what are some of the things that kind of, don't sit well with you on the current scene right now? I know that you mentioned before about someone doing a party that may not have a huge name but is playing excellent music, and I think that goes for a lot of us out there who are trying to make it still after 20-30 years. But you still don't have that support. Is that one of the big things that it's holding back?
That's one of the things. I think also, me myself, like I go to parties, I'm in a corner like on Discogs, if the music is not in par. But again, people with their phones, I think also, not as much people dancing anymore. I also, that thing with the circle, that kind of, during my time, it kind of also got bigger. We didn't like that before because there was none of that.
Right.
I think now also, people have to understand, before, with $20, I would go out on a weekend and have money to eat on a date or whatever, to go to a club, and you have money. But now, 40 years later, people still want to pay $10 to get into a place. Times change, inflation, the economy, it's just different times, and some people don't want to pay, like, to get into, and you have to understand these venues, they got overhead, they got to pay light, electrical, bills, and rent, everything's expensive. But now with the whole club scene, I feel like there's also, I would say, the culture vulture. Like, a lot of people, they like our sound, our culture, but then they don't like seeing us in the events, in the spaces.
Okay.
It's hard. I don't want to sound off like that, but it's true. There was a club. I'm not going to mention names, but they were doing a party, a famous party, a New York staple party, and they made rules for that party.
Oh wow!
Like, don't put your coats in the speakers.
Yeah.
Don't go to the bathroom and drink water, and only for that specific party, because it was a black and brown party. Any other parties that they have in that place, they would never have those rules.
Yeah.
And it's always, it's a shame, it's sad, but that's one of the main things too,
Yeah.
People want to be cool, they want to be down, but
up to a point.
Up to a point, yeah.
Wow.
They love your music and everything, but they don't love you.
Yeah.
It's sad,
Yeah. How about all the outdoor events? You see that kind of slowing down a little bit? Are there too many outdoor events now, do you think? Or maybe not enough?
You know what? I feel like New York, now, they get a lot of, because you have to have a permit.
Yep.
But I think since the mayor's into house music, they get a lot of, they're being easy on the permits.
Oh, wow.
Like Ace told me, I think the park where he played on Saturday, he was there from 2 to 8, I think, or 6. Normally by 6 o'clock, 7, they would shut it down. And he told me last year he was there till 10 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
And not only him, like, I see a lot of other people doing parties here and there, like in all these little spots. And I guess that they're being more flexible, the city, with the permits.
Yeah.
I think even they've been doing a lot of black parties in Brooklyn as well.
Yeah, I've seen some.
Yeah, so I think, you know, they're being flexible with the permits, you know, so that's a good thing. I think I don't see that anytime unless, you know, another mayor comes in and enforces it, you know, but it seems like, you know, they're more, I don't know, like Jersey, they're big, the festivals out there.
Yeah.
You know, with the vendors and everything, it's just different.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's gone to the point, I think, where a lot of people don't, not just because of the music, it's always a topic that's always been on social media, you know, people playing the same stuff.
The same stuff.
But I just think that it's the overall, you know, going over there and just seeing almost the same thing, the same setups, the same vendors in one event to another. Yeah, and after a while, I mean, because this is a few years that has been going on now, right? So I think people kind of tend to look for other things, but not in big ways as I think they really want to, but they're also afraid to break away from whatever the trend is, you know?
I mean, Jersey's always going to be Jersey. You know, they got a history.
Yeah.
You know, the music, the people. It's, you know, you can't knock it. You know, even, you know. But then again, you know, I guess there's more older folks out there. Like, you know, but, you know, and trust me, I love my soulful music. House, I love the soul, you know, the vocals. Yeah. You know, it's different, you know, and I remember going to Lincoln Park when they first started, you know. Then all of a sudden I started seeing parties like in this park, in this part of the other town.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, it's cool, I guess, you know. But that's that, you know. But then again, you know, as we get older, we mature in sound, so we want to hear different stuff. Yeah. I to be honest with you now, I don't even buy house records, you know, and I don't. You know, I might listen to something, you know, like on the computer or stuff, but I don't, you know, if it's something like that catches my eyes, like something from Irma, we have that stuff, like certain, you know, nice, eloquent, you know, house stuff, I'll get, you know, something different. You know, again, same thing, like people would ask me before, like, yo, you get these techno records. I go, yeah, but if you pitch them down and listen to the sonics and all this, I get it for, you know, and I used to tell people when I was digging and that, I said, listen, don't follow me, like, create your own taste, you know, because I like something doesn't mean you're gonna like it. So I don't want you to, you know, you spend a certain amount of money and then you go home, you listen to these records and you don't like them. That's my taste, you know, and you know.
Now, talking about that though, because sometimes, and you've been a great supporter of my Thursday show, which I'm always grateful to. Always have you there, Elvin.
That's what I like. What you play is exactly what me and my friends love.
And you guys came out to our event.
They want to go to the next one.
Oh, thank you. September 29th, Sunday, if anyone is listening and wants to come out. How do we explain that? How do we explain our party to people, you know, when they're so used to hearing words like house music, Afro house, and we're not that. But at the same time, we are about music. How do you tell people? How do you describe it, right? Because sometimes it's like, I don't have words. It's kind of like almost like
I tell
it's
people,
an experience.
Man, it's an experience. Just come out and you're gonna listen. I tell them, look, my friend Alvaro, he plays really good music, Red Grooves, Jazzanova, you know, like bossa nova, jazz, you know, like Brazilian stuff, like, you know, the whole realm. But I'll tell you this much, he doesn't play that much house, but the house he plays is really classy, like really nice house that you enjoy. Right. You know, something different. You know, it's not your 4/4 all night. Yeah. You're not gonna get that there. Yeah. You gotta, you know, it's a listening experience. You know, it's just, you know, you have to go and experience. I try to tell people you have to go. Even my friends in Germany, I go, yo, you should go check this place out. Because you have that, but that's what I'm saying. It's like your name resonates with a diversified palette of music. No one can say Elvin Reyes, Afro House, Elvin Reyes, House, right? It's like, if you have not heard to any of his stuff out on YouTube or his even old Mixcloud account, I'm sure you guys are aware. And that's what we're trying to convey here is, how do you pass that message, right? People come to you and say, Elvin, help me, you know, educate me musically.
But to your point, how do you do that when you kind of have to have an open ear and appetite for it?
You know what I tell people? Like, if I get a record and I love the record and I swear by the record, I think that's what I feel. If I'm feeling that record, I think that feeling will transcend to the floor, to the people.
Right.
And I think, you know, that's what I try to generate, like that feeling. And if I like a record, like I love gospel.
Yeah.
You know, and gospel, forget, I cry. Like I love the gospel records. And I think those records, they're like just the words, the meaning, the message, it's you know, it transcends. And I try to do that with you know, I let the records speak for themselves. You know, I'm just, you know, just selecting and putting the records on. You know, the musicians are doing their job. You know, like it's like you're ending music.
Saying it with music.
That whole album is an amazing, incredible album. It's so many like that. You know, there's so much music out there to be discovered. So much different stuff. It's you know, it's.
But how did you get there? What brought you to just having that nick for picking something up and then tuning people into it and developing that following for people to know,
you know what? A lot of that, I would credit that to Larry Levan. That was my school. And I think going to that place and listening to the records in that system and then going home and not listening, you know,
doesn't sound the same.
And even till this day, I still haven't heard a club that sounds like a system like that. And I never will. And I think I always use that as that's like my palette. That's what I, you know, those are my crayons to my paint. You know, like from listening to Larry, like what he used to do, set the tone, the atmosphere. But the records he would pick, I'm sure he would pick them out for a certain reason. They had a bell, a whistle, or something that, you know, was very intriguing. And I think.
But not everybody who's gone to the garage has heard Larry can say that that's, you know, what they've absorbed from him. You kind of have to be on a different level to say what you say, only because. We have a lot of parties that pay tribute, but they get stuck.
They get stuck. They play the same 10. And Larry wasn't about that. Larry was
that's
about
been my
moving
fight,
forward.
right? It's been like
always.
You can't tell me that you've gone to the garage and not heard.
Larry was about breaking new records.
Right. That you haven't heard a gospel. That you haven't heard anything, because he has. Now, if you only came peak time and I got
to listen to classical music in garage while he was fixing, you know, the ladder and the stuff he would do there. And another thing is, I tell people, they tell me, Elvin, how do you remember all these things? And the first thing I tell them, listen, I never did drugs. I never drank. So I was very focused on
clear on what he was saying.
What he was playing and the message. You know, I remember one time he was having, I don't know, some issues with some speakers. But he went, he took the ladder, everybody sat down for a while, and he started cleaning. And then I think he had played, as soon as he finished, people were booing, like throwing stuff. But he was, you know, to do that in a club, bring out a big 8-10 feet ladder, and everybody surrounding, like on the floor, just sitting, waiting for you to, you know, while a classical record is going on. I think he was playing like Tomita, something like, and then after he finished, he's done. I think he brought in, I think it was E2, E4 or Summer Madness, you know, the gang. And the stuff he used to do, it was you know, crazy. I remember telling Danny one time, you know, he was playing. I remember when I went on a Saturday, and when I walked in, he was playing "You Should Be Dancing," the Bee Gees, and I'm like, wow, I only heard this on the radio, but it doesn't sound like this. You hear like the conga, like everything. I'm like, wow. So I remember that night he was playing "Caress," Catch the Rhythm, and he had the break going, bum 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 bum. Bump, 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 back and forth. And I'm like, yo, how he's doing this? And I told this story to Danny, and Danny told me, you know what, Elvin? He was actually working 2 records that break back and forth. And I got tired of seeing him do that, and I gave him. I recorded it. I did the edit and recorded it on reel and took it to him for his birthday.
Oh wow!
And I go, wow. And
That's
so
an
I didn't
awesome
remember
story.
what I remember.
Wow.
Yeah, and but that, you know, I think that was my school. Like
Yeah.
Larry, you know, like he was one of my favorite, if not my favorite, and he wasn't a good mixer.
Right.
And the same thing, I could say the same thing for T. Scott.
Yep.
But it's just their selection.
Their selection.
And I always been one of I prefer a selector over a mixer.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of good mixers, technical mixers that are, you know, good.
Yeah.
I remember hearing Tech Curry on KTU. He was flawlessly,
Yeah.
like a flawless mixer. But then again, it was radio. But you know, I think a mixer just, it's about for the beat, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think a selector is more on taking you on a journey.
Yeah, I mean,
so the spectrum is more wide, you know.
that's a beautiful point, and not to make too much noise on it, because I know people out there in social media can take this, you know, either way. But there is an art to letting a song play.
Yeah.
And being able to program the next song so it does create
Yeah.
that beautiful journey.
That's harder
That's harder to do than mixing
Yep.
the same beat for the 1 hour, 2 hours.
And
you
I'm not
might
saying to select records just to
Exactly.
play records.
Yes.
I'm saying creating a story.
Absolutely.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
starting off slow,
Yeah.
you know, reaching the peak, coming back down.
Yeah.
And you know, and but, you know, with message.
Yeah.
You know, records talking to each other.
Absolutely.
And that was, back then, that was beautiful because guys used to play like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because you really feel.
You had
feel-
records talking to each other.
You feel that heart. And I remember another story that someone shared about Larry. You know, he would take a breakup with a makeup song, you know,
Yeah.
the words talking to each other about it. And I mean, you really got to listen to the mastery that he did when compiling the sceneries, you know, and what better place than an awesome sound system? I
Yeah.
mean, you nailed it. You know, when you hear a certain song, and it doesn't have to be one genre specific, classical, rock, you know, Latin.
Yeah.
When you hear it in a system like that, it only makes you move and really freaks you out
Yeah.
to hear that song like that. And we've been blessed to have those experiences, to actually live through that.
Now you don't have that. The clubs now, the systems, they're not nothing close.
No.
And you know what? People could tell me, they could argue with me about technology and you know, back then it was analog, but
Yeah.
there was no sound like that. And there hasn't been anything like it. Like before, like
Yeah.
it was really good, clean sound.
Absolutely.
You know? I mean, I remember when Larry broke Slave to the Rhythm, that album, you hear all the details on that system, like everything.
Yeah.
The loudest I think I heard it one time, he was playing Betty Wright, one step, two step back, one step,
Yep.
and he was mixing, I think, with I think he was bringing in Music Is the Answer, but he was like, you know, trying to get the mix right. He kept going back and forth, and it was very loud. I was feeling the bass in my throat,
Yeah.
like in my chest, like really, really. And I remember he blacked out the whole
Dance floor.
the whole dance floor. And when he turned back on the lights, he only turned on the red lights, and it was all full of smoke.
Wow.
You know, the atmosphere, and that was his thing. He, you know, creating that atmospheric vibe.
Yeah.
You know, it was different times.
Absolutely.
You know, music is powerful.
It
You know,
is.
It's very, very powerful.
And I don't think, I mean, you know, for us, I think it comes more natural than to others. But it's still, the task is out there to push the
Yeah,
good
to put
word
the
of great
great
music and have people kind of just give it that chance to really open their minds, because it is beautiful
Yeah.
music, whether it's jazz, whether it's Latin, you know, and when you compile it all together in a place that gives you that freedom of expression, so to speak, you know, you have no choice but to fall in love with music, right? So what's next for you, Elvin? What do you see yourself doing?
Basically, my main goal is to try to get, one day have like my whole collection, everything together, which
Okay.
is not. And you know, I guess have my own place. Maybe if God willing, I've been asked or put in the position have a store and have it financed, but I don't want to do that.
Okay.
You know, I see myself. I still do edits like once in a while. Actually, with Nelson, we go to the studio and do stuff, and I'm trying to create other stuff with my friend Tony Trofa, with Chino, Yusan, and Jose. And my friend Louis. We always try to do stuff. I have a few things I got lined up that I want to do, and again, I still play out, not as much as I would want to, but then again, I'm very selective.
Right.
I don't want to be, I want people to don't get tired of me.
Right.
Even though I don't like to play the same stuff.
Right.
But also, I want them to get anxious when they come hear me play, like, oh man, he's gonna play, he's gonna play something different. And that's it, but I mean, I see myself, I don't know, I guess, time will tell, it's a lot,
If you had to tell someone young that's coming into this industry, whether it's as a DJ or a collector, so to speak, because it seems that a lot of people are picking that word and kind of trying to do what a collector should. And I think there's also a different type of definitions to what a collector might be, a digger, in our world. For instance, I think for us, it really stems from the passion of finding just beautiful music, as opposed to, I'm a collector, I have to have this because I need to have it.
I consider myself a hoarder.
Okay.
But I would tell the people, the young people, create your own taste. Don't follow.
Yep.
I think, build your collection on your taste. I think try to get good stuff. Try to, don't have a lot of fillers.
Yeah.
I mean, like for instance, I go to range and love for wax. I get 1 or 2 house things that I think it'll work. Again, because I'm still, I wouldn't say I'm a working DJ, but I get to play out a lot.
Yeah.
I play here and there. So you have to play certain house stuff, But try to keep it minimal. I guess keep good. Try to keep good stuff that you think that has longevity.
Yeah.
Don't get a record that is just a plain old track that's not gonna have any life. And that's how I feel about the digital. It's just in the clouds, and it's stuff that in 2 days is forgotten.
Yes.
There's no liner notes to read. There's nothing. You forget about it, and it's gone. It disappears.
Yeah.
I remember having on Track Source like almost $3,000 worth of tracks. Just me selecting stuff, putting it in my cart. I think
$3,000?
Yeah, I think Track Source took it down. I think.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was putting stuff, and I don't buy digital.
Yeah.
I don't, And then I went back. I said, let me go back one day. I guess I was bored, and a couple of days, and I started going through the list, and I started weeding out, taking stuff out, and I went back almost down to zero.
Yeah.
I'm saying, you know what?
Yeah.
That stuff, it sounded good back then. I don't think now I'll be able to play it. And I forgot about it. And I don't miss it because it's not like vinyl. It's not like records. It's different.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's my passion. That's I feel good when I see someone playing records. I think someone playing with a laptop, that's my opinion, and that's their choice. But it doesn't move me. It doesn't make nothing. Somebody like falling asleep in front of the computer or looking at the computer and not looking at the crowd, not reading the crowd. It doesn't, lift me. It doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, I mean these terms that we use, reading the crowd, all of that stuff. It's used very lightly now, and I think some people don't even use it. But it was all natural. It's through what we've experienced. It's through what we've known to set.
There was no social media back then. Nothing. It was just us being us.
Yeah.
We didn't know this was going to be like this.
Exactly.
It's different now. But I tell people just be yourself. Play from the heart and play what you like or collect what you like.
Exactly. Yeah. That's awesome.
I still collect, you know, but I consider myself a hoarder. Like, people tell me like the same question always, like, Elvin, man, like, you have this, you have that. You know, I look at it, I enjoy listening to you, because like when you play stuff, even though I don't remember, I go through my disc, I got it, I have it, you know, so it makes me feel good.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to, you know, be searching for it. Like my friend Victor, Lofty Vic, like he's some of the stuff he doesn't go out, you know, he has a family, he doesn't go out to clubs and stuff that much. But and you know, there's stuff that I remind him, no, Victor, you might have that. I think you got that. That's this and that, and then I tell him on the chat separately, you know.
But that's awesome that you know even what they might have and they don't.
They
so
don't.
that's incredible, you know, for you to be that source for people like that, you know.
And then again, you know, I'm glad for a lot of good friends too that really know the music well, that we turn each other on to stuff.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Manu travels a lot, and every time he goes to France, you know, he goes to Bettino Records, to Superfly, he brings stuff back, and he turns us on to it stuff. And we have another friend, Dada. This guy is an amazing collector. I mean, this guy has like records that are not even on disc. Like the stuff he has is like one-off, like really good stuff, and expensive. But you know, again, you know, he's someone that could afford it, you know, and you know, he's not a guy from the scene. Nobody knows him. He wants to start a party, and that's someone that you're gonna hear good stuff that you probably never heard before.
Exactly.
You know, and I appreciate that, like stuff like that, like friends like that. You know, we trust me. My little circle, like our friends that are into the music, we like what you play because that's what we're into.
Exactly.
You know, it's a small, like you said, it's a small community, but we really like, you know, are really passionate about it and understand the music.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think you may be having a little hard time because you're out in Jersey, but I'm not saying here in New York, but in Brooklyn, they're into what we like.
Keith and I gotta come out to Brooklyn.
The thing is that you probably look at, you hear residency advisor, you hear these names that we don't know, these DJs, and all of this, but then all these small little places, and they're playing records. They're not playing with a laptop, and they're playing what we like. And all these kids are doing their homework. They go, you know, they follow Sadar and all these other guys from Chicago, all the Red Groove guys, you know, but everybody's, you know, they're finding stuff, and it's good. I like that because they're being different. They have us looking like, oh man, look what this guy just you know?
That's awesome, Elvin. Well, brother, thank you so much, man. Thank you for your time. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Let them know where they can find you if they're interested in following you, talking to you.
Well, I'm on IG, Elbin, ELBIN 6510, and you know, Facebook, same thing, Elbin Reyes. Also, I have some. It's funny. I have a lot of, I guess they call it mixes or whatever on Mixcloud.
Yep.
And I don't even know how to upload it, but those are all my friends that put stuff up for me. You know, I don't put stuff up. You know, but you can find me there too.
That's
and
awesome. Yeah. So awesome conversation with my man Elvin, and let me tell you, we connected musically, and it's so genuine and spiritual when you can share a song without discriminating the genre and purely loving it for what it is. So if you want to hear more of that stuff, don't forget to join me on Thursdays on Twitch, alvaromrxjimenez, 8:30 p.m. And follow me on all of my social media. Please like the video that we just did and subscribe to my channel. And you know, just look out. There's a lot of great music, a lot of young DJs, and even DJs have been doing this for decades. Just, you know, they might not have that light on their name as others, but they're delivering with passion and authenticity of the music that they trust and believe. So we ask everyone to support. Thank you.
You know what? Before I forget, one more thing, and I always wanted to be, and I think a lot of people consider me this, like the voice to the bedroom DJs. A lot of guys that don't get the proper I guess, recognition.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of good DJs, you know, guys that play good music out there that don't have a name for, you know, a big name, and never gotten a chance to play. You know, and there's a lot. You'd be surprised. Like a lot of good ears. Yeah. So, you know, don't be afraid. Follow. I mean, that use the social media. Part of doing the homework is going out and seeking what somebody else might be playing that you may not know. I tell my friend to follow your YouTube content, like your when you go digging to different stores, different countries, and finding stuff. And the thing is that you're sharing with your public, you know, what you find, and you playing it that week in your show, which is very interesting. I had a friend of mine named France. He used to do that back then in cable, and the cable when there was cable, and he had like a tripod, and he would put the album and play the record.
Wow, that's awesome.
And talk about it. You know, people that you don't see that anymore. You know.
No, but keep doing what you're doing. We love the music, and you know, it's a wide world out there. Go out and dig, and don't be afraid to kind of get off that repetitiveness and follow someone for what it is. Thank you, Elvin.
A lot of years of music.
That's right. And stay blessed, everyone.
Blessings.